With Elden Ring Nightreign launching just days after this video goes live, you can grab 11% off both the standard and deluxe editions over at our new channel partner, Games Planet. They're an official distributor of the publisher, so if you're planning to pick up the game on PC, support the channel by using the link in the description and using our code, the Co-op Rain, at checkout. Stick around till the end of the video to hear more about this deal. We usually joke about packed schedules and too many games in these monthly intros. You know, probably just to make you feel like you need this video. Like we're your lifeline in this chaotic gaming world. But friends, this time it's not a joke. This is the big one. We've got the first ever co-op design From Software game launching 5 days before the freaking Switch 2. And oh, you know what's next weekend? Summer Games Fest. Yeah, we are not okay. So it's time to lock in, buckle up, and get caught up on everything. The co-op games that dropped last month, the co-op games coming next month, and all the co-op news in between. That's right, it's the Co-op Monthly for May 2025. Let's get into it.
May was a great month for indie co-op games, especially for those of you looking for more casual co-op experiences, so let's see what critics and players thought of this lot. Kicking off the month, we got the release of Revenge of the Savage Planet on May 8th. This is the follow-up to Journey to the Savage Planet, and it actually fared better than the original, averaging an 80 on OpenCritic. Most critics praise its joyful mix of platforming, exploration, and puzzle solving, though the combat remains a common weak point. We reviewed this one on the channel and pretty much agree with the consensus. It's a fun, lighthearted adventure that supports 2-player co-op both online and locally. The humor might not land for everyone, but great co-op exploration definitely will. Broventure the Wild Co-op is that vampire survivals-like co-op title we mentioned a couple months back, and it finally hit Steam's virtual shelves on the 15th. It's flying a bit under the radar with no critic reviews on OpenCritic, but it's pulled in around 200 user reviews on Steam and currently sits at a mostly positive rating. Most players seem to agree that while it's light on depths, particularly in areas like base building, it's still a decent time. At just $5 it might be worth a look if you're into these swarm survival-like games and want to try one out with up to 3 friends via online co-op. Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time is a cozy open-world RPG light packed with a mix of different gameplay styles from crafting, dungeon crawling, cooking, and much more. It launched on all major consoles on the 21st and supports 2-player local co-op as well as 4-player via an online mode. It's gotten around 10 or so reviews, which are just enough to place it at a mighty 85 on OpenCritic. Over on Steam, it's off to a pretty great start too, with a very positive rating from over 4,000 user reviews. Our friends over at Noisy Pixel gave the game an 8.5, but warned that this may not be suited for co-op play. Their review mentions how online multiplayer only allows you to explore select sections with restrictions across story missions and other aspects of the game. There's also a time limit in online multiplayer, and yeah, that could definitely be a barrier for those just looking to hang out in game. Not sure if this is our type of game, but would love to hear some impressions, so hit us up in the comments below. Game of Thrones Kingsroad was originally revealed at the Game Awards last December before hitting early access this past March. Now barely 2 months later, it's fully launched on mobile and PC as of May 21st, basically speedrunning early access. Surprisingly, it supports 4-player online co-op, though not in the way you might expect. The main campaign is still single player, but there's a separate dungeon crawler style boss rush mode designed for online co-op. Whether it's worth jumping into is another story. The game currently holds a mixed user rating on Steam with around 2,000 reviews. That said, it's free to play, so if you're looking for your next GOT fix ahead of House of the Dragon's return, it might be worth a look. Alongside Revenge of the Savage Planet and Fantasy Life I, we also got the release of Lynked Banner of the Spark earlier this month, another solid casual co-op title. This one blends Animal Crossing style town building with roguelike missions, all wrapped up in a fun cartoony art style. The latest update marks the 1.0 launch for Lynked as well as its console debut. There's a lot of game here, so reviews are still rolling in, but it's currently sitting at a very positive rating on Steam. We've jumped back in for the 1.0 update ourselves and have been enjoying what we've seen so far. If you want a deeper look, check out our recent gameplay video. And rounding out this month's group of casual co-op titles is Sedap, a culinary adventure. This one's still flying under the radar with just a few hundred reviews on Steam. Lucky for you, we're always hunting down co-op indie gems, and we put out a full review on the channel. While Sedap might look like just another overcooked clone at first glance, it brings some fresh ideas to the table, most notably a light combat system. We had fun with its twist on the formula, though it's clear the game could use a bit more polish and a few key patches. The good news is the team is already on it. They're actively addressing netcode issues and improving the less intuitive cooking minigames. They even added full share progression in a day one patch, which bodes extremely well for the game's future. If you want our full take, be sure to check out the full review on the channel. Section 13 is a roguelike twin-stick shooter supporting 3-player online co-op, and it launched onto 1.0 earlier this week. We didn't find too many critic reviews on this one, but it's currently sitting at a mixed user rating on Steam with less than 100 reviews. That's from the most recent reviews, while the overall count of around 500 reviews ladders up to a mostly positive label. Most reviews are pointing to some launch day hiccups, so be aware if you decide to jump into this one anytime soon. Finally, the biggest release of the month is neither an indie game nor anything close to casual, because we're talking about Elden Ring Nightreign. This is a 3-player online co-op roguelike set in an alternate world to Elden Ring. Critic reviews are already in, and they put the game at a solid 80 on OpenCritic. That might sound a bit low for a From Software title, and while the game has earned a lot of praise, it's also proven to be a little divisive. Outlets like GameSpot scored it a 9 out of 10, while others like IGN and RPG Site landed at a 7 out of 10. This is clearly designed as a co-op first experience, so it's a very specific kind of game, and that won't be for everybody. And in typical From Software fashion, multiplayer isn't without its quirks. We'll be covering everything you need to know about teaming up with friends in our upcoming how-to video, so stay tuned for that.
Let's move into June, where co-op release dates are a little bit light, but expect that to change once Summer Games Fest hits. First up on June 5th is Parallel Experiment, a 2-player only cooperative puzzle game that's really caught our attention lately. This one requires a friend, but luckily it's cross-platform and available on PC, Mac, and mobile. A special shout out to the comic book art style. The story is told through cool-looking panels, and there's a bigger mystery unfolding beyond the moment-to-moment puzzles. It's dropping during a busy time, but we respect the hustle. If it slips past your calendar, definitely wishlist it and circle back. Also releasing on the 5th and launching with the Switch 2 is Survival Kids, a fast-paced co-op survival game aimed at younger audiences. You travel from island to island on the back of a giant Wordle, yes, not a turtle, a Wordle, doing all the usual survival game stuff, cooking, fishing, gathering resources, but with minimal violence. It's a smart addition to the Switch 2 lineup, especially with not many brand new games launching alongside the system. 5 days later, on June 10th, we're getting Dune Awakening, a survival crafting MMO light with big expectations. Obviously, the Dune IP brings some serious buzz, and this one's skipping early access entirely to try to make a strong first impression. Previews have been cautiously optimistic, but a lot is still riding on Funcom to deliver. The name alone is probably going to buy some goodwill, but this genre hasn't made it a must-play for Gabe and me yet. We'll keep an eye on reviews and check back in the next month with how it launches. Warhammer had their annual Skull showcase this month, and it highlighted a ton of co-op-centric games. We'll get to most of that later in the show, but one of the biggest announcements was for Space Marines Mastercrafted Edition, and the fact that it was releasing only weeks later on June 10th. You're getting higher fidelity visuals, 4K support, remastered audio, improved character models and controls, online co-op, and all the original DLC bundled in. We love to see it. Gabe and I have definitely become Warhammer fans as of late, and this is a great celebration of a classic. We're hoping to find time on the calendar to check it out eventually. Our most anticipated co-op release of the month is FBC Firebreak, the first fully co-op focused game from the team at Remedy. These guys rarely miss, and they're clearly not treating this as a quick spin-off. We were lucky enough to be among a small group of creators who got hands-on time last month, and while the first few rounds were a bit clunky, the fun quickly kicked in. It features 3-player online co-op with selectable missions, difficulty, and length, something we thought was a nice touch. You also choose from 3 distinct classes that make a real difference in how you play, play. So yeah, this is way more than just a toe dip into co-op. Here's hoping it all comes together when it drops on PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC, and let me just say, it's day one on Game Pass and PlayStation Plus Extra. Time to move into our news section where we'll start with updates to currently released titles. First up are the major updates we got for Helldivers 2 over the past month. It started with a quality of life edition, customizable guns. Nice to see, although I wish it was there at launch, but it's always good to have something to tinker with when diving back in. But then came the big one, the call back to fight, the call to save Super Earth. That's right, we all thought the Helldivers had pushed back the Illuminate, but turns out they were just regrouping. They came back with a full-blown assault on the planet that democracy calls home. This meant we finally got to deploy to a planet with actual, life, citizens, cities, which alone is very cool. But even better, the Illuminate are back with even more enemy variety, and speaking from first-hand experience, yes, I did answer the call. It was awesome. Love to see that Helldivers 2 still has the juice to bring back lapsed players like me even a year later. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I feel a little bit bad putting Starship Troopers Extermination right after Helldivers, but hey, what's wrong with a little healthy competition between two similar titles? Update 1.4 launched on May 7th. It came with the usual performance improvements and bug fixes, but also something that I never saw coming, a TV camera. Yes, if you find a FedNet camera out in the field and broadcast your mission's combat, it actually boosts the XP gain for your whole party. Genuinely clever and interesting mechanic. I wouldn't mind if a certain other game borrowed that idea. TMNT Splintered Fate is finally making the jump to both PlayStation and Xbox later this month. This 4-player local or online co-op roguelike was once locked to Apple devices, believe it or not, but now it's spreading its wings, or in this case, turtle legs, far and wide. This is great news because it's gotten solid buzz and looks like a ton of fun. Let's rewind a bit to the free Ravenswatch update that added Romeo and Juliet as playable characters just this past week. This was one of our favorite co-op titles of last year, so hearing that the two new characters were designed specifically with co-op synergy in mind was basically a dream come true. Even better, the devs sponsored a Let's Play on the channel, so go check it out if you want to see them in action. We love their mechanics and highly suggest jumping back in if you've been lapsed like we were, and if you haven't played it at all, you are missing out on a real gem. I'm not entirely sure if we covered the announcement of a gang of frogs, so if that's the case, I'm going to rectify it here by mentioning it got a positive preview write-up over at Game Rant a couple weeks back. It's a third-person roguelite shooter where you play as, yes you guessed it, a gang of frogs. Surprisingly sharp visuals for a debut indie title, and Game Rant specifically praised the game feel, which is critical for any shooter. No release date yet, but go read that preview and wishlist it on Steam if you're intrigued. If you're new to the channel, let me take the opportunity to say hello, welcome in. Hopefully you're having a good time discovering new games and quietly laughing or cringing at our jokes. You may not know that Gabe, the other guy here, loves a good PvEVP extraction shooter. That's why we're hyped to see Sand is coming not just to PC but also PlayStation and Xbox, I think when it launches. Now there is no release date yet, but expanded platforms are good news. It's just hard to say if it's going to launch on consoles because it's first launching on early access, although nowadays that can happen on PlayStation and Xbox. In this game specifically, you pilot giant mechs across a desert wasteland, collecting loot to upgrade your gear and mech. In theory, you could skip PvP entirely, but others may not show the same courtesy. Here's hoping we hear more during a certain upcoming summer game showcase about maybe that release date. Man, they just don't make games like Hypercharge Unbox anymore, do they? This third-person shooter launched back in 2020 and still maintains a strong community. Thanks to its fun PvP and full-featured co-op campaign, it's got 4-player online or 2-player local. And the best part is there's no microtransactions. All of that to say, we're really happy to see it's reached its final platform frontier, the PlayStation systems. It's available everywhere else already, but we felt like this small achievement deserved a shout out. It's kind of the total package. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we're going to talk about Destiny 2 and Bungie, because man, they aren't getting a whole lot of goodwill lately, are they? Well, for now, we're going to leave Marathon as a discussion for another day and talk about Destiny 2. The team recently revealed their next major multi-year plan, and it includes a Star Wars-themed expansion, so just let that sink in for a minute. The whole thing is titled the Fate Saga, and it begins on July 15th with the Year of Prophecy and the launch of a new paid expansion, The Edge of Fate. Putting aside aside the Destiny-laden jargon, it essentially all means that we're starting a new story, gonna go to new locations, and discover new abilities. And if it's really good, expect Gabe and I to hop back in because we're always gonna be suckers for a good Destiny expansion. Finally, we can get into all the updates we got to co-op titles set in the Warhammer universe announced at the Skulls event. Darktide is adding a new playable class, the Adeptus Arbitus, could have totally screwed that one up, on June 23rd, complete with a Cyber Mastiff you can send to disable enemies. That's a win. Also coming that day, a free update that revamps the new player onboarding and difficulty progression, making the narrative more structured. So it's time for our favorite monthly game. Is it time to return to Darktide? I don't know, maybe. Rogue Trader drops its second major DLC, Lex Imperialis, on June 24th. Expect a new 15-hour storyline and a new companion, also keeping the mechanical dog theme alive, which we respect. Not to be left out, Vermintide 2 launched the third new level in its free Verminous Dreams update last month, a solid excuse to get the band back together. Finally, Space Marine 2 teased its new Siege mode, a Horde-style experience set to launch on June 26th. Another excellent excuse to suit up with the boys once more. That wraps the release game updates, but don't worry, Gabe's taking over the show to share everything else announced, and Skulls 2025 still has some juice in it.
We've got a handful of new releases and a couple new game announcements, so let's enter the home stretch here and dive in. Earlier this month, Borderlands 4 took center stage in a state of play, showing off new gameplay and fresh details, and yeah, it sure looks like a Borderlands game. That said, there are some genuinely fun additions. Traversal's gotten a boost with mid-air hovering and a new grappling hook. Plus, you can even spawn your vehicle out of thin air now. We also got a closer look at the new licensed parts system. Guns are now pieced together from multiple manufacturers, so you might end up with, say, an elemental assault rifle using a torque-made clip, with each part offering specific stat bonuses depending on the brand. Co-op sounds smoother too, thanks to better lobbies, dynamic loot scaling, and full crossplay at launch. So yes, it's still very Borderlands, but with a couple smart updates, and maybe, just maybe, if the writing isn't incredibly annoying, this could be the best one since Borderlands 2. We'll find out in September. Lost Rift is an upcoming survival game that mixes base building with PvPvE extraction gameplay. We're getting a lot of extraction games lately, but this one has a clever twist on the formula. Part of your time is spent in pure PvE gameplay, scavenging and building up your home base. Then when you're ready, you drop into a separate set of islands for match-made PvPvE sessions. Here you battle other players while looting valuable resources to bring back and use for quest progression. It's an interesting attempt at blending both PvE and competitive gameplay into one cohesive experience. It's being developed and published by the team behind Outriders, and while there's no release date yet, is slated to hit early access on Steam. Hawthorne is an upcoming sandbox RPG where you play as animals and fairy tale creatures. The game supports online co-op and recently launched a successful Kickstarter campaign. They've also released a story trailer, so if you're keen on this one, definitely look into their Kickstarter and make sure you wishlist it on Steam. Coming off its delay in March, we finally have what looks to be a firm release date for Killing Floor 3. The game is set to launch on July 24th when it comes to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series consoles. The 6-1 Indie Showcase returned for its third year, and if you're into indie games, it's well worth checking out. Most of the titles shown were single player, but one co-op game definitely caught our eye, and honestly, how could it not, with visuals like this. Shadows of Chroma Tower is a dungeon crawler with PvPvE extraction mechanics. This one smartly offers both PvE and PvPvE options by splitting its 4 difficulty levels. The first 2 are PvE only, while the later ones bring in PvPvE. As a fan of extraction games like Dark and Darker, I'm excited to see more developers trying to strike that balance between cooperative and competitive play. We're hoping to jump into the next playtest soon, as the game is currently slated to release sometime this year. Finally, as promised, let's talk about some new game announcements we can all look forward to. We already got a ton of exciting updates from the Warhammer Skull Showcase, but one new game announcement we wanted to highlight is Warhammer 40k Dark Heresy. This is another CRPG from the team behind Rogue Trader, and this time it looks like you'll be playing as an Inquisitor investigating heresy deep within the Calixi sector. Hopefully that means something to some of the diehard Warhammer fans out there, because I'm still brushing up on the lore, but either way, this game looks sick. Even better, it supports 4-player online co-op, no release date yet, so definitely hit that wishlist button to stay in the loop. On Any Journey is a 2-player local co-op adventure game with a great art style that immediately stands out. It mixes platforming, Cuphead-style bullet hell, and side-scrolling beat-em-up gameplay, basically a grab bag of retro influences with a fresh coat of paint. The animation feels straight out of an old-school Disney cartoon, and overall it looks super promising. No release date yet, so again, be sure to throw it on your wishlist in the meantime. Undermire is a 1-4 player first-person online co-op roguelite where you descend into a magical ever-changing bunker to confront the dark forces that lie within. Each character has their own unique magical tool that defines their playstyle, but there's also a system that lets you smush items together. No, like you literally smush them together. Basically, you can find ordinary items in the world and combine them into a new magical variant. We're very keen to check this one out ourselves. No release date as of yet, so hopefully it's coming sometime this year. Shane Beast is an upcoming 1-4 player gladiator roguelite supporting both online and local co-op modes. Fight chaotic battles in the Colosseum while chained to your friends and trying to entertain the masses. Between battles you level up and can unlock new perks. There's also a funny wound system with effects that persist between battles, like a broken leg causing you to trip over yourself. It's all presented in a sick art style that definitely caught our eye. Very interested to get our hands on this one too, and if this looks sick to you, be sure to add it to your wishlist. Lord is a 1-8 player co-op action roguelite set in a fantasy world. It looks like a mix of RuneScape meets Risk of Rain, or I don't know, fill in any fantasy IP here. It also has a goofy sense of humor with a variety of wacky enemy types. We don't get too many 8-player co-op games in this genre, so that's nice to see too. The game is slated to release in Q4 of this year, so again, be sure to wishlist it if it looks up your alley. And our final announcement is for Gears of War Reloaded, a full 4K remaster of the original Xbox cover shooter. We'll admit it, Gears is a massive blind spot for both of us. What can we say? We both grew up with PlayStation, and yes, we're a bunch of Sony ponies, I know. But with Gears of War E-Day on the horizon, this remaster is dropping at the perfect time. Reloaded launches on August 26 on PC, Xbox Series consoles, and yes, even PS5. That said, we'll still be playing it on Xbox for the full, authentic Gears experience. Thanks for hanging out with us, friends. Like and subscribe if this video helped you out, and huge thanks to our Patreon producers for keeping the lights on. Stick around to hear how you can save money on Elden Ring Nightreign, otherwise we'll catch you in the next one. Look, we're all looking forward to playing Elden Ring Nightreign, so make it easier on your wallet and support the channel by picking it up on Games Planet. You'll get 11% off the standard or deluxe editions, and yes, it's legit. Games Planet is an official distributor that works directly with publishers, so there's no funny business, no shady keys, just solid deals. Use the link in the description and enter our code, the Co-op Rain, at checkout to save yourself a couple bucks and help out our humble 2-man team in the process. It's a win-win scenario as far as I'm concerned. Thank you, Games Planet, for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching.